I'd like to welcome you to the webinar today about the ICH GCP E6 Revision 2 and the types of changes or recommendations within that guidance that may impact data management. And so our learning objectives today are to define the recommended SOPs associated with electronic systems used to collect clinical trial data, because there's great emphasis on having those governances in place, especially for the electronic systems. And many of the things that you'll see today have probably already been instituted by your organization, but in respect to the guidance, it has been identified as basically a requirement. We'll also discuss the data integrity issues described in the final guideline, and then list the considerations of risk associated in trial conduct and its connection to clinical data management. And we'll speak to observed recommendations, but I'll also basically introduce some information within that every organization may approach meeting these requirements a little bit differently. But I think I'll speak to general ways of participating in the requirements. And then we'll review the principles of quality management as related to clinical trials and the tools that we'll utilize to implement a quality approach, because data quality is really the linchpin of the information that they've given in this guidance. Well, I'm sure then, based on the fact that you are all from different groups, that you all have had your annual training on good clinical practices. But we know that the principles of the ICH GCP is that we have to conduct our trials in accordance with ethical principles, and that's why we have IRBs, or ethic committee. We also look at risk versus benefit, and primarily the rights, safety, and well-being of trial subjects or patients are considered. This one is very interesting because I've worked for multiple pharma sponsors, and I work with some that have written extraordinarily good protocols and others that haven't been so great. And so really we need to ensure that our trials are based on good science and that we have the appropriate description in our protocol. Informed consent is another issue that sometimes is a make or break situation when it comes to auditing the clinical trial process. And we have to ensure that it's obtained from every participant, written in verbiage that the participant can understand, and include all of the information that is required. And then, of course, the confidentiality of participants is protected. And we know that there are some significant changes in confidentiality that had recently been adopted by the EU, for example. Now, the ICH E6 R2 goal, the goal overall is to encourage the implementation of improved and more efficient approaches to clinical trial design, the conduct and oversight, recording and reporting, while continuing to ensure data integrity. And I basically have put that in bold because from a data management perspective, our remit is obviously to provide a correct and clean database to our biostatisticians, but we also have to ensure that the data is intact and basically follows the rules of data data integrity. From the ICHE 6, it was actually the first revision in 19 years. And it speaks to the quality by design and quality risk management principles and methodology. And so basically what that means is that the quality of the trial must be ensured through fact-driven planning. And from the standpoint of how long it might take to actually get a study started, because from protocol inception, selection of your investigators, etc., we have to ensure that we have investigators that are qualified to do the study. We have to make sure that our protocol is scientifically sound. And then it must be supported by tools and processes that leverage past experience, real life data, in order to eliminate unrealistic study procedures and avoidable protocol amendments. And this part here is where they are tasking us to look at historical background, being able to assess risk and actually identify risk, and then also risk mitigation. and quality management is expected to be risk-based. And we know that the technology changes on a daily basis. We have internet, smartphones, EDC, and this one is most important from a data management or even a clinical trials generation perspective is a real-time review of clinical data. We are doing adaptive studies, we're doing dose escalation studies, we're doing subset locks for safety data reviews, and we want to see the data in real time as close as possible.